Hi, welcome back to My Plate, My Life, where I teach you how to eat a balanced diet even when you don't have much time to cook. Today we're making tomato queso pulled pork. This well-balanced dish is a favorite lunch of mine. It has beans, pasta, pulled pork, all in a rich tomato queso sauce for a southwestern lunch that will satisfy your hunger and do so without the carb crash we often experience after lunch. It may even tie you over to dinner. Now, to minimize the time we spend in the kitchen, I'm going to show you how to make this over the course of 2 days. Because when you don't have a lot of time, time management is everything. So with that, let's begin. Alright, first thing we want to do is make our pork spice rub. Add our salt. Garlic powder. Cumin. Thyme. And lemon juice. And apple cider vinegar. And set aside. Black beans soaking, so we'll get our pot, add our beans, and we'll give them a quick rinse. The water will turn black after they soak. And we'll fill this up until they're well drenched, because they will swell up. Now bring it to our stove. Bring it to our stove. And cover it. Cut. Next we have our pork. Pork shoulder. And get out a cutting board. Latex gloves because it gets messy. save the packaging. And we'll cut this up into small cubes. There is a bone right here. We'll leave that alone. Pork shoulder is quite marbleized, so there's going to be a lot of fat we're going to slowly melt off this. Which is right there. Okay. Cut into roughly about 2 to 3 inch square cubes. And yes, most of this will melt off nicely once it cooks. There we go. Leave this alone. And very marbleized. This will melt off nicely. There we go. And just toss this in here. And we're all set. Put this on a slow roaster. Put the lid on. And it's ready to cook. Once it's steaming, you can see. We'll go ahead and turn off our flame. And let it be. Next is queso fresco cheese. It's crumbly, so it makes it easy to work with. A little water on the bottom. So it kind of has that feta cheese kind of feel to it. And we're just going to crumble this all up because our 10-ounce package of cheese is going to serve all of our lunches. And we're all set.
Brighton Bell, Preston Parks, Grounded Records.
You will see the pasta has expanded nicely and has filled up the entire pot just about. This is ready to go. Time for rinse. Now that our pork is done, it's time to go ahead and remove it from the pot so it can further cool before we start shredding it. And we'll also take a look at our beans. Nicely swelled up. We'll go ahead and get those cooking now. Get it boiled, then we'll bring it down. Take 2. As you can see, nicely done. We'll let this cool completely, and then we'll go ahead and shred it. Now that our beans are just about done, next thing we want to do is prepare our vegetables for saute. And what we'll do is cut the onion in half. Next, cut our green chilies. Ooh. Next, add some olive oil, about a tablespoon. Now it's time to add our Parmesan cheese and our milk. Action. Now it's time to go ahead and shred our pork. Remember our pieces with the bone. So we'll put our good pieces here and I'll put our fatty pieces in the middle bowl. And pork shoulder just falls apart like this nicely. Talk about fall off the bone. You'll notice I don't have to really peel off too much fat because it's all melted away nicely for us. I wear the gloves because sometimes this is hot, so the gloves help. And of course, it just makes cleanup a whole lot easier. When your fingers aren't all greasy and you can't touch anything. Remember some of that thick fat we had on the bottom? Clearly this comes off pretty easily. If you choose to cook overnight, like I did, be certain to go ahead and unplug your slow roaster first thing in the morning when it's done, and keep the lid closed and just let it cool. Just let it cool, because it sure makes it easy to handle. This thin slime is what they call fascia. It's found when two muscle groups have to lie on top of each other and work independent from one another, such as your shoulders. We have these in our bodies as well. And if you're really fat conscious, where you don't want to consume a lot or too much, when shredding this, it's always better to throw away anything that you find a question as to eat it. While none of it's going to really hurt you, it'll definitely make you feel better knowing that you've made this as lean as possible. Something like this looks like it's pretty solid. You can just stand and do that with it. Have it just crushed up in a moment. Whereas other pieces you might sift through. And that's that. Night, so it was ready for us today. And then of course we went ahead and made our pasta today, as well as our sauce. Now it's time to put everything together. When it comes to assembling this for lunch, ultimately I mix this before I eat it. So the order in which I put my ingredients together really doesn't matter a whole lot. However, for the sake of cleanliness, as far as double dipping, I always try to go the cleanest ingredient to the dirtiest. And in this case, pasta would be the cleanest because it has the least amount of residue, then the pork, and then of course the black beans because black beans. So let's go ahead and begin. We have our pasta, so we'll go ahead, we have our trusty scale. And so we'll go ahead and put one of our containers on the scale before we turn it on. This will zero it out or tar it out. So this way the zero reading on the scale includes the weight of the package. I happen to find a bunch of these at the grocery store. As you know, sometimes prepackaged meats come in these kind of containers. Otherwise, as long as you have 10 containers of the same size, it makes this job a whole lot easier. So let's go and begin. Alright, and because I know that we need our 2 ounces of cooked pasta in here after it's been boiled, so we'll go ahead and start getting this measured out. And then roughly, once we have the first one done, the other ones will come easier because now we have an idea as to how much we're looking to fill this up. And you want to be as precise as possible because chances are there's not being room for extras. Now when it comes to pasta, I use these little macaroni pastas. For me, it's because they're small, they're easier to work with. However, you could use elbow macaroni, you could use the little seashells, as long as it's something small and uniform and easy to work with. That's all that really matters. I would avoid like the bigger pastas only because it takes up more space in our container, and you may not have that. All right, let's do this. Perfect. Now we'll add our pork. Now that we've got that done, we go ahead and do our beans. Now, instead of sitting there and worrying about, we have pasta in here, we have pork in here. In my situation, I'm running 2 different containers. One, you see, has smooth, and the other has a little handle. Yes, this throws off the weight of about 2 or 3 grams. So something else you can do is, instead of worrying about trying to zero out your scale every time you put another container on. Zero out your scale with your beans. So now my beans are zeroed out, and I'll go ahead and add my beans according to the recipe, and then I won't have to worry about zeroing it out every single time. Here we go. Perfect. All right, I'm going to wash my hands. And then, of course, last thing we've got, we got two more things we got to put on. One is the cheese, and then, of course, the sauce. And the cheese, I went ahead and threw back in the refrigerator because it was getting a little warm, and of course cold cheese is just easier to share. All right. Of course the cheese is pretty simple. All we want is 1 ounce or 28 grams. Now that we've got that done, last thing we've got to do is add the sauce. Now, because I don't have a 4-ounce ladle, I am going to simply use a 1/2 cup measuring cup, such as this one. This is about the easiest thing I've got. So we'll come over here and grab our pot and tilt it to the side. There we go. Now we're all set with that. All we've got to do is put our lids on, and because we've just now made 2 weeks, well, what I would use as 2 weeks worth of lunch. If you're not the kind of person that eat the same thing every day, that's fine. Do this a few times with a couple recipes and then just mix it up. And then before you know it, you get 4 or 5 different recipes every single week to sit there and choose from. So this might just be your Monday lunch. Needless to say, I go ahead and I'll leave 2, maybe 3 days in my fridge, and then I'll go ahead and freeze the rest. And then I'll just make certain to put one in my refrigerator about 2 days before I need it, so this way it has a chance to go ahead and thaw out properly. Stack these up. There you go. 2 weeks worth of queso fresco pulled pork. And that's tomato queso pulled pork. At just 602 calories, 16 grams of fat, 40 grams of protein, and 10 grams of fiber, you'll agree that makes for a well-balanced meal. In the coming weeks, I'll have classes on all the elements of a well-balanced diet, including fats, carbs, protein, and fiber, and I will help to decipher all the confusing data that's out there on all these things. So, be certain to subscribe to my channel to get all the latest videos which come out every Wednesday. Feel free to post your questions and comments below, and then go to myplatemylife.com for the recipe while you're there. Sign up for the newsletter. Once you do, I'll send you my free starter guide, a guide that's packed with valuable information that will help you get the most out of this program and started on a path to a healthier you. Well, that wraps up this edition of My Plate, My Life. What's on your plate?